Hey guys, Trevor Chakouti here from Spinewise, and if you are someone who gets cravings, if you're someone who uses coffee every morning, someone who finds that there's a food that they just crave, they love, they're addicted to, or perhaps there's something that you just can't go without, I want to talk to you because I want to explain to you the difference between food that is required and food that is desired. Just like always guys, if you love our videos, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications for our YouTube channel, and we'll keep you up to date with all the latest information and happenings of what we bring out and how you can help yourself be better than you already are. Alright, so today what I want to do is I want to talk to you about food, whether it is required or whether it is desired. And there are two very different things, because we like to believe that we are in control of everything we choose by food, but really we're just simply following the line of our subconscious. And for many people, we try and rationalize this, and I hear it all the time where, you know, no, I'm not addicted, or no, I don't need it, I just like the taste of it. So I want to knock this on the head straight away, because there is a difference between something that is required and desired. And I'm going to explain to you why that occurs and why we rationalize it and why you think you're not in need, why you think you're not dependent in a second. But before we get to that, and also what to do about it, but before we get to that, what I want to do is I want to talk to you about the difference between food when it is required and when it is something that you just desire. In other words, when is it something that you like and you just want, or when is it something that you're actually dependent on? And they are very different. So I've written them up here for you. So the first one is, this is our desired side, this is our required side. This is the stuff we're dependent on, and this is when we just like something. So the first thing is, if it is something that you desire, if it's something that you just like, this basically is something that you choose. This is really important, you choose it. If it is something that's required, this is something that your brain chooses. Okay, this is something your subconscious will choose that it wants and that it needs, which is very different than something that you want. If you're thirsty, you may grab a glass of water because you need to drink. That's very different than if you have to get up in the morning and just have your coffee to start the day. One is desired, one is required. There is no emotional attachment to something that you desire. There's no emotional attachment at all. If you're thirsty and you go to a glass of water, you have no emotional attachment to that glass of water. You just need a drink. But is that how you feel about your coffee in the morning? Is it something that you just want because it's morning, or is it something that you actually need? Can you go without? This is the difference. So there is emotion attached to something that you require. Next thing, desired, you control it. If it's required, it controls you. If you go without your glass of wine in the evening, or if you go without your coffee in the morning, do you feel the same as if you do have it? Do you need the coffee to get yourself started in the morning? Do you need the alcohol to calm yourself down in the morning? Does it control you, or do you control it? Do you choose it, or does it choose you? Really important in order to decipher whether you desire something or whether you require it. And in desired, if it's something you truly desire, you don't care if you miss it. It's no big deal. If it's something that you require, you will have behavioral changes if you miss it, and you will rationalize and sometimes even become irrational about that topic. So for example, if I said to you, hey, you know what, this caffeine is affecting this in your life at the moment, I need you to come off it for a couple of weeks, will that be no big deal, or will you rationalize why it's okay for you to be on it? Will you go, oh, it's not a big issue, I'm not addicted to it, I just like it? Will you have that kind of thought process, or will you basically go, okay, no worries, well, I'll just have a green tea instead? Or will you go, no, I don't like green tea, I just want coffee? Or will the next thought process be, no, well, I'll just have a decaf? Okay, so if this is your rationalization, then most likely you require it. It controls you rather than you controlling it. And anytime, I repeat this, anytime you are using a food as a drug, there is a consequence for doing so. Okay, there is always a consequence. In terms of caffeine, we know if you're using caffeine in high amounts, or if you're using caffeine repetitively, potentially can affect your insulin function, can affect your stress hormones, and other aspects of human function as well. If you're relying on chocolate, whether it be dark chocolate or whether it be standard milk chocolate. These have issues from a sugar perspective, from a dopamine perspective within the brain itself. There's consequences to everything you do like that. Not all of them are necessarily really bad for you or really terrible or going to end your life or cause a disease, but there's always a consequence to doing so. So how does this work? What do we mean by this? So when you desire something, basically the brain has no inherent absolute want for it at that point in time. When you require it, the brain will want it for its functionality. And we like to think that we're in charge of what we choose, but most of the time we're actually not. Most of the foods that we select are because the brain actually wants that at that given time. Perfect example is this is someone who has insulin resistant, like you're diabetic, or someone who's pre-diabetic or something similar to that, where we're having our pre-insulin resistance going on, our early insulin resistance phase going on. When this happens and the brain isn't getting the proper flow of glucose to it, the result may be that we actually start craving sugar at that point in time to get the insulin hit. Another example might be that when you're having dinner, if you're someone who needs to have bread or some kind of heavy carbohydrate with dinner, such as say pasta or rice or a sweet or even dessert after dinner, what you may be finding is that you need to get your insulin spike in order to actually register to the brain that you have eaten. Okay, so these are things that the brain actually controls. And what will actually happen in this type of situation is that your taste buds will actually change. And your interpretation of taste changes. So what happens is things that taste sweet start tasting better. Things that don't have that sweetness start tasting really bland, and you start wanting that sweetness in your diet at a higher rate. And we see this really effectively in kids, especially when they're under about 7 or 8 years of age, where they'll just crave carbohydrate and they'll potentially only ever want to start eating white foods. So things like pastas, rice, breads, potato, these type of things. They want that carbohydrate hit because they're not getting what they need because of their insulin resistance. So we're not really in control of most of those things that we consume, but we rationalize it. So for instance, when we want that caffeine first thing in the morning and we just love the taste, okay, what we're really talking about is the brain has changed the interpretation of taste of the taste buds to actually increase your want to have that food, in this case caffeine, so that it actually satisfies its requirement, whether it be for a sugar high, whether it be for the cortisol high, whatever it is, it needs it for its requirement. Maybe it's just brain alertness it wants to elevate. And then we rationalize it. The frontal lobes and your consciousness rationalize why it's the right thing to do, even if you know it's the wrong thing. So it might be, oh, it's only one a day, or it's a decaf, or something similar, or I just like it. And these are the rationalizations of dependency. Okay, so if we're doing that, this is another sign that you require it. There are very specific strategies you can do to unwind that mechanism depending upon exactly what you require, what your dependency is, and how you can come off them very easily is actually perhaps easier than you think. So a couple of little tricks you can use to unwind yourself or your children off those kind of dependencies and get food from required back to desired mode. If you do have a specific requirement in your life, whether it be caffeine, pasta, sugar, whatever it is, just post them up or message me. I'm happy to help you out in any way, shape or form and give you some direction as to how you can shift that back and get in control of the food you eat and stop it controlling you. Anyway guys, if you have any questions, post them up or message me. Otherwise, I shall catch up with you in the next bit. Bye for now.